Welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host, your guide, more like an escort this time. I almost said expert, but that would have been a Freudian slip. Into the uplands with beautiful dogs, incredible places, and a friend or two, maybe 3 or 4 if you're in South Dakota. Otherwise, a great time will be had by all, and this will be a fun podcast because I'm answering all the questions you've been asking over the last few weeks. Been on the road, get a question here or there once in a while. Mainly, why are you here and what the heck are you doing? But beyond that, lots of questions. I will do my best to answer them. So if you've asked a question anywhere on social media in the last few weeks, then get ready. Hunter Hargrave, Lance Larson, Kenneth Zabrotsky, Kevin McLaughlin, among others. I will answer your questions. Hopefully those answers will be of help to you. And then we'll talk about hunting 2 dogs at the same time. We'll get some advice from some of you. I'll share some of my stories, and we'll all share some of our nightmares. So if you were chiming in on that topic recently, well, let's see what everybody else has to say as well. And finally, a new segment. Yeah, I'm going to call it What's on Your Mind, and it is kind of an outgrowth of some of the other questions I've been asking on the social media. But yeah, more kind of fun stuff. So stand by for that. This one will be a fun one because it has to do with traveling and dogs. 2 things we're doing a lot more of these days. So that's the Upland Nation podcast for this week. Stick around after a little bit of a message right here. We're made possible by Sage and Breaker Gun Care products, Pointer Shotguns, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrulockChokes tubes, MidwayUSA.com, Purina Pro Plan Sport dog food, and HiViz sites.com. Well, first off, if you were affected by that incredible hurricane, and I know several friends who were, good luck. I hope you're recovering well. What a mess. Just be brave and be strong and reach out to friends and family, and they will respond. That's all I can tell you. I know we're on the tail end of the recovery there, but it's going to be a long one. So good luck on that. Over on this end, we're still getting back in shape. That first Sharptail trip of the year, Flick and I both got a foot problem out of it, and we're still trying to add miles as a result of the recovery period, which was pretty much don't do anything. Flick made a really long retrieve on a wing-clipped Sharptail. It was probably a 500-yard retrieve when all was said and done. That bird, I don't know what propelled him that far. There was no wind to speak of, but that bird went and went and went. And Flick went too, and he went as fast as I've ever seen him run. I don't know what your top speed for your dog is, but at one point I looked at the GPS and he was going 18 miles an hour. 18 miles an hour. That's fast. Anyway, during the course of that, is my guess, is when he hit something funny left front, torqued it a little bit, and sure enough, by the end of the day, he was favoring it, limping a little bit. The next day, it was swelled and hot. What I'll call it the ankle joint. It's the first joint above the pad, the foot. It took a long while for the limping and the swelling to go down, but we are back in action, and hopefully we'll be putting more miles on as the hunt season becomes, it starts in earnest. That would be right about now, actually, now that I think about it. So good dog, Flick. Great retrieve, and glad you're feeling better. Yeah, we'll be talking more with you in that new upcoming segment called What's on Your Mind. It'll be a fun one. It's a travel-related question, travel and dog-related question, so stick around for that. You'll get your say there as well as in the questions and in the hunting two-dog segment coming up, so stick around. We're brought to you in part by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. These guys hunt. These gals hunt. They know what works on the range or in the field. And if you're looking at your gun thinking, you know, a little lighter gun might be handy for this year. Well, don't forget Dave Fiedler is your shotgun guru. And MidvalleyClays.com always has sub-gauge guns in stock. So whatever smaller gauge you're looking for, start your search with Dave Fiedler at MidvalleyClays.com. He has a line on all the hard-to-get shotguns, but first and foremost, counsel with him on what you're looking for and why you're looking for it. He'll ask some questions, maybe give you the right answers for your needs. I'm confident he will. And then you can make an informed decision about that new shotgun, sub-gauge or otherwise. And ProPlanSport.com is where you'll learn more about the science behind the brand. Purina Pro Plan Sport is designed for dogs like ours, elite athletes. The number one ingredient is meat, and meat brings amino acids to the equation. That's what builds muscles and promotes muscle recovery after the hunt. Yeah, take a look at all the formulations and read some of the science involved in how they've come to those conclusions. It's all at ProPlanSport.com. Well, I love this part. I never liked tests in school, but that's because we never had tests about the stuff that you and I love so much. Here we are, all grown up. We don't need to take tests very often anymore, but when we do, it's for fun. And hopefully we'll learn something from it, and that's my goal today. Welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. Scott Linden here. You know, I just love helping people out, and so do you. I see it every day on social media. Somebody asks a question, they get an answer, a suggestion. You all, the Upland Nation community, are way more open and helpful and generous than so many other worlds that we can be in. And for that, I thank you all in advance. But now it's my turn to pay you back with some answers to some of your questions. And so let's just jump right in, no particular order. Let's see how it's going. Hunter Hargrave asks a question about feedback on a current situation with his dog in the field. 3-year-old dog, his heeling, walking at heel, has regressed. Not sure how to address it, he says. The dog's doing well on all the other commands, but once he comes to heel, he very quickly tries to peel away in the field, needs constant verbal reminders and time on the slip lead. But it's not working. Well, hey, I know what you mean, Hunter. It is one of those things that I deal with all the time with Flick. You know, and I understand it to a degree, especially in the field. The dogs know what's going on. They know what they want to do. And, of course, that is the ultimate teaching and learning situation, too. So the slip lead is a great idea. And I would bring one with me in my vest. I carry a lead of one sort or another anyway for all sorts of emergencies, or we're walking back on a road or whatever it is. So keep a lead in your pocket somewhere and use it when you need to. If you're a good customer at your veterinarian's office, which is a two-edged sword, of course, maybe they'll even give you one of those cheapo woven nylon slip leads. It's very light. It's easy to stuff into a pocket. So get one of those and use it in the field. Now, outside the field, when you're at home again, yard work might help you a little bit. And I know you've worked on that, and the dog mastered that, and that's part of the frustration. But on lead in the yard, why don't you add a few more distractions than you have in the past? Another dog, people yelling and screaming, people walking around, throwing stuff, whatever it is, things that would distract your dog. While your dog is on a lead, you can correct those things and get him more conditioned to distractions. Yeah, if you have access to birds, even better. What a great distraction, knowing that a bird might fly off in the distance or something like that. And then, of course, at some point, you're overlaying your collar, your e-collar, with that lead and with your verbal commands. And that you can always have with you in the field. So good luck on all of those. Hope it helps, and keep us posted on that. And send a picture. Lance Larson, by the way, Lance, I'm looking at your cigar box guitar as we speak. Tuned it up again yesterday, so watch out. Somebody might have to complain to the sheriff about the noise in the next few days. Anyway, Lance asks, when training with bobwhite quail, if your dog is on point and you miss the shot at the flush, do you still let your dog go retrieve, or do you call him back? I'm assuming, Lance says, that a shot was fired. So fundamentally, you missed a flushing bird. All right. Dog did good. You did crappy. I can relate. That's usually my training scenario and my hunting scenario. Lance, I'm with you 100%. You suggest, Lance, that it might be good training to encourage a dog to go after a bird that wasn't shot. Might be good training for searching for a wounded bird. Yeah, it might be if that bobwhite quail is like most pen-raised bobwhites and it goes down again and the dog can actually find it and pick it up. But that's basically the same thing as a shot bird. The risk may be a little bit more of a problem, and the risk is if you're telling a dog to go find a bird, whether it's a wounded bird or a dead bird, and he can't find it because it flew off and he never did find where it landed, if it landed anywhere in the neighborhood, then all of a sudden he's thinking, this guy's playing games with me. He's tricking me. When he says there's a dead bird out there and there's not, I'm going to start doubting the veracity of everything he tells me. And that, I think, is more of a risk than anything else. So be careful about that, and maybe instead teach a new command. And I love this one. For birds that fly away, there's a lot of things you can say. But if you want that bird to fly away and you don't want the dog to chase, if he's on a whoa and he understands whoa, of course, it's academic. But if he doesn't, and you like your dog to break on the flush, for example, or on the shot, then you might say, gone away. That's what some of my friends in the Northeast use for their term, gone away. Or you can say no bird. Or you can say here or whoa if you need to. That's one way to do it. Another way is, and I did this on a recent sharptail hunt because, because I missed. It was a long shot and it was a wild flush and it was nowhere near, but the dog hears the shot. And he says, oh, if he shot, there might be a dead bird somewhere. And, since Flick was farther away, he wasn't basically under my control, to speak, in that regard. So I just dropped a bird. Luckily, I had one in my vest. I just dropped it. And then told him, dead bird. And eventually he found it. So if he's already searching, or even if he's not, if you want to use that command, Lance, and tell him dead bird or whatever you use, make sure you can drop one for him so that he continues to have confidence in your commands and doesn't think you're trying to fool him once in a while. Yeah, let me know how that works for you. Kenneth, okay, I'm gonna try it once, and I apologize in advance. Kenneth Zabokski. I apologize for mangling that, but it's a hard one. But I bet I know about where your family comes from. Anyway, the question is kind of off topic, but not. And it's timely because I had this discussion with an expert not a week ago. Have you ever had the topic of off-road trailers for hunting? Have I ever? I'm on my 14th RV right now. I've had a chance to try just about every configuration, from little A-frame hard-sided ones to gigantic toy haulers, pull-behinds. And the bottom line on RVs, period, if you have never owned one, here's the reality. They come pre-broken from the factory. There's just no quality control in the RV industry to speak of. Yes, the really spendy ones have fewer problems, but they still have problems. So whether or not there's a real off-road trailer, yeah, there probably are some, especially those little kind of teardrop styles that some of the smaller manufacturers are making now. There's just not a lot on there that can break. I mean, they don't have plumbing. They have rudimentary, if they have any kind of a heater on them. Those little tiny ones, rolling caskets, might be okay. But an RV with all the comforts of home, a bathroom, a kitchen, a refrigerator, all the stuff that you want when you're going hunting, very few. Buy a good toolkit, learn a lot about the basic systems, and hey, you could get a long way with that. In fact, I'm still dancing in triumph over a hot water heater issue I solved yesterday. It was a highlight of the day. I mean, that's how often I deal with this stuff. I remember taking a brand new trailer, which even had stickers on the side, off-road ready, and went somewhere in Nevada that I can't talk about, and we got 4 miles down the road, such as it was. And it wasn't the worst road I've ever been on. It was a pretty decent road for BLM. Things started falling off. I mean, literally falling off. I used almost an entire roll of duct tape just to keep the stuff attached to the trailer. The grates and the stuff that's attached on the outside. It just was not done right. Okay, that said, and we'll all learn that lesson on our own the hard way. The pros that I've been talking to lately are high on a company actually here in Northeast Oregon called Outdoors RV. I know the founder of that company because way back in the day, he lent me one of his rigs from another company he founded. He's since moved on to this company, Outdoors RV, and good reviews coming in. Good reviews. One of the main reasons, I think, is they build their own chassis right here in the United States. Unlike most of the other manufacturers who get their chassis pre-built off a slow boat from China, literally. So take a look at them when you're comparing all those others that may look more rugged or may say they're rugged, but maybe they really aren't. Good question, Kenneth K. Kenneth Z. Appreciate that. And sorry if you're not an RV type, but many of us are always dreaming about the next one. Okay, that's the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden. We're answering your questions this week on the program. Kevin McLaughlin asks a question, and I'm not going to be able to answer this one. I wonder if you could do a series of individual species habitat preferences. or something like that. For what I, Scott, will call the less commonly hunted species: spruce grouse, ptarmigan, rails and snipes, etc. I can't do it. I don't have enough information because I don't have enough experience on any of those birds. I don't even talk to ruffed grouse hunting very often because I know so little about it. And, you know, hey, I need all the help I can get. So I'm going to stay in my lane, Kevin. But there is plenty of information on the internet on these subjects. And even on social media, a lot of people will share, you know, even if it's just a dead bird picture, and it's one of those, you might be able to glom some information out of that. So good luck, and let me know what you learn. My friend Rodney Ott, I hope to see you at Pheasant Fest this year. You asked about a dog that runs off, I'm presuming in the field, but it doesn't matter. If you lost a dog, you know, by now, the bonus episode I did on lost dogs should be out, so hopefully that answers your questions. But if you all, the rest of you, haven't listened to that one yet, my quick advice: the first hour of a lost dog scenario in my book should go like this. Muster up all your friends and all their dogs that you're hunting with, and maybe anybody else who's willing to help, and start searching from where you last saw that dog into the wind. Most likely a bird dog is going to be attracted by something that smells. To him, it smells really good, and it could be anything from a whitetail to a cattle carcass or anything in between. So I would be searching into the wind. I would spread everybody out, and I would let the other dogs work, because they'll cover a lot of ground. And if they do bump into your lost dog, maybe they can, you know, come back and the dog will follow them. So that's the first thing I would do, is search into the wind, and I would spend a couple hours doing that. And if that doesn't yield any results, well, then go back two places, actually. Go back to that podcast episode and listen to the rest. I've got a strategy that ends up being days and days long that might help as well. And if not, I think I also wrote about this a while back on findbirdhuntingspots.com. So, Rodney, I hope it doesn't happen. If it did happen, I hope there was a happy ending. Good luck to you, and I'll get the whole story from you when I see you in Kansas City. All right. Doug Fowler asks, when is it safe to assume the snakes are inactive? I hope that wasn't just a trick question. Quite often, and we're talking about poisonous snakes. Nobody cares about the other ones to speak of. But if a snake is venomous in one way or another, yeah, we do have to worry about that. Absolutely. My experience is primarily in the high desert, where it gets cold. You know, it's 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 feet elevation. But I have seen rattlesnakes out and about up until the snow flies. A lot of people will suggest, all right, first hard freeze. So the first time it gets really cold, which is different than when the snow flies, obviously. But I don't know that in other parts of the country you can ever be safe to assume the snakes are inactive. So I would, take precautions, whatever you feel is appropriate, whether it's a snake breaking clinic, and most of the time everybody swears by it when they do it twice. If you feel that a vaccine will help, then go ahead and get it. What's the harm? But never, ever assume that all the snakes are all gone all the time. For a while there, we were at one we hunted the same spot every year for about 6 or 7 years in a row. And sure enough, on the last day, the last hunt, we'd make a big loop up this one draw that had good water, reliable water all the time. Then we'd go over that saddle and we'd come back down the other way into what basically was old mine tailings. You know, this is country where all the prospectors used to go. They'd bring their donkey with, I mean, like the classics. And son of a gun, if on the last 300 or 400 yards of every one of those last hunts on the last day of opening weekend, I'd be the one, colorblind me would be the one who almost stepped on a rattlesnake. Luckily, that meant the dog was way off somewhere. I was probably looking for him at the time. But I'm the guy who finds the rattlesnakes. Yeah, and live to tell about it. So anyway, knock wood on that, I guess. Ted Sarton asks a proverbial question, and Ted, I don't want to be flip with you on this. You ask, what's the oldest a dog can be trained? I'm going to say there is no such thing. Yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and actually it might be the best thing for him. I came back from a recent hunting trip, and there in our front yard were all the agility poles and hurdles for my wife's 12-year-old corgi. There's always something that a dog can learn, and there's real value in teaching that dog as it gets older and older, because dogs need mental stimulation. It keeps them young. So if you can challenge a dog from a cerebral standpoint on top of the conditioning that they need physically, all the better. It could be anything. It could be a new sport like agility, or it could simply be a new skill, or it could simply be reiterating stuff that dog hasn't been taught, such as it is, for years and years and years. It's all good, and it all helps. Robert Murphy asks, how much does your hunting pack weigh? And he showed me a picture. Well, he showed us all a picture of his on the scale. It was about, I think it was about 17 pounds, if I recall, Robert. Well, mine's a little bit heftier than that. A lot of places I go, you can't get back to the truck easily, and you sure don't want to, because that'll mean turning around, climbing back up a couple thousand feet. So I carry a lot of water, especially early in the season. It's critical. Later in the season, it's less so. But that water, plus all the other things in my vest, puts it at about 25 pounds. And that's where a good, well-designed vest comes in handy. You carry 25 pounds. Yeah, I know. As a Boy Scout, we used to backpack with twice that. But now, 25 pounds is pretty heavy, especially in the wrong kind of a hunting vest. So there you go, answering your question real basically, but all that other stuff, if you want to know what else is in there along with the water, did a podcast on that recently too. For once in my life, I got clever. Best in the vest is what I called that one. It's there. Just dig it up and listen to it. Well, those are the questions that have come up recently on the social media, and good ones. Thank you. Caused me to think a little bit, maybe helped somebody else out there, got me psyched up again about the next hunt and how I might prepare differently for it, perhaps you all as well. We'll talk about hunting two dogs simultaneously, and then also kind of a fun segment called what am I calling that thing? What's on your mind? Which is really all about what's happened to you recently out there. So we'll get to that coming up after this quick break. Brought to you in part, we are, by TrulockChokes.com. Glad you all survived the hurricane all right and things are back to normal. Yeah, they are taking care of business over there in Wiggum, Georgia. Trulock, Trulock, TrulockChokes.com. was reminded again when I was asked if I had a choke tube wrench on a recent hunt that not everybody's choke tubes are made as well as TrulockChokes. Yeah, their quality control program, second to none. They make their choke tubes right there in Wiggum, Georgia, from United States steel. And they will show you, because they engrave the exact exit diameter in thousandths of an inch on the body of every choke tube. That's why they can offer a lifetime warranty and a satisfaction guarantee. Learn more about why their choke tubes are my choke tubes of choice. Sign up for the email notifications. There's always a promotion or a sale going on there, so take a look at TrulockChokes.com. And then lubricate those choke tubes and everything else you need lubricated or cleaned with products from Sage and Breaker.com. Lifetime warranty on all their gear. Best photos on Facebook. Sage and Breaker makes high-quality gun cleaning products and accessories. Simple and easy to maintain and protect the life of your gun. Yeah, learn more at sageandbreaker.com. Sign up for their email notifications and you will hear first about new products and the very rare sales that take place at sageandbreaker.com. Well, get ready, Grant Goblish, John Simon, Court Green, Joseph Lawing, among others. We are going to answer and deal with your responses to the big question here at the Upland Nation podcast about hunting two dogs together. Yeah, I was struck by how many people I know got new puppies this past spring, and some are still getting them. I know there's some August litters coming up, so we're still planning ahead. Second dog, while they still have a dog, and wondered how they were going to handle that stuff. So I asked that question a while back and got some great answers, and want to share those answers if you're kind of pondering the same idea, or if you have two dogs and you've never hunted them together. Lots of reasons to consider that. I've seen that a lot. I figure I've probably hunted 100 times with a pair of dogs on the ground, whether it's on a TV show for fun or gunning or marshaling a field trial or a hunt test. And it's a joy. I got to tell you from the beginning that there's nothing quite like it. Take the experience you have with your dog and multiply it by 5, because it is an exponential growth curve. Two dogs on the ground are cool. Yes, there's a downside. I'll go to that next. But there are also some incredible benefits. I mean, there's nothing like that picture in your mind or in the field when you're still there of one dog honoring another dog. The point is what convinced me to buy a shotgun. Seeing a dog do that. Seeing two dogs do that, maybe we all ought to go buy another shotgun. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons to do it, and there are some challenges. And maybe I'll start with that because I don't want to forget to mention it. If you've not done it, one of the things you'll figure out early on is there are some concerns. I mean, two dogs means two chances for a dog to get lost, or for one dog to steal another dog's point, or things related to that. If you've got the technology, all of a sudden a lot of that becomes less of a problem. And most guides are running two dogs these days. I was reminded of that again as I was helping clean up on a chain gang of 8 dogs. So 4 pairs for Trevor, at least that day. And believe me, there were some good reasons for it. We'll get into those right now. So let's just jump in. Joseph Lawing says, as a licensed guide for 30 years, a brace, and in his case, he says typically a male and a female, is the true experience. The clients and myself love the point and the back. Hey, I agree. And the respect on the retrieve. And that's a good point, Joseph. You know, honoring a retrieve is kind of the ultimate consummation of a point and back, now that you mention it. And that is just as cool. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out that way, and that is one of the downsides. If you haven't worked carefully enough with your pair of dogs, there might be a little bit of discussion about who gets to bring the bird back, no matter who hit the point and who's on the back. But Joseph, I think just typically based on your 30 years in the field, you're telling me that it's pretty cool and everybody likes it. And those are things that I agree 100% with. Cork Green hunts 2 Brittany's at a time. Easy and enjoyable and a lot of fun. Absolutely. And this, I actually had this experience too. Cork says his Brittany's were from the same litter and believe that helped with their interaction. Yeah, absolutely. I was having coffee in a travel trailer a couple of weeks ago, and of the string, most still on the chain gang, 2 short hairs were in the trailer with us. Siblings, same litter, one big, one small. They were joined at the hip. It was so beautiful. They just got along so well. And they also did the same in the field. Now, I'm not saying that won't happen with dogs that are unrelated. I'm saying that it was just kind of cool that it happens, just like Cork's dogs. 2 Brittany's, same litter. Really neat. They grew up and trained together. They knew how each would take part in the hunt. You ever seen that happen? You've been in the field, you're watching 2 dogs, and not only are they hopefully checking in with you and maybe with their other owner if there's 2 dogs of different owners, but they're also checking out each other once in a while. And I told a good story about a recent hunt I did on that bottle and mic episode. You know, a bottle of something and a microphone, and I'm going to do more of those, I hope, if you like them. But anyway, how you can watch 2 dogs in the field and you can tell when the light bulb goes on. That's probably the second best aspect of hunting 2 dogs together. Now, I'm going to interject here because, you know, it's still hot in most of the country where we're hunting, and there's an advantage to having 2 dogs and hunting them separately, of course. You know, this time of year or any time of year in the right country on the right hunt, you know, it's brutal. It's hard work. So if you've got one dog on the bench, or ready to go in the crate while one's hunting, and then you swap them out, they each get more rest. And some days that means twice as much hunting time. Some hunts that means twice as many hunting days. So while it's also fun to run both dogs together, once in a while, the best idea is to keep one in the crate while the other one hunts and vice versa. You're listening to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, kind of riffing on this whole idea of hunting 2 dogs together. And we'll get back to that part right now. The brace, as they say in many parts of the country, and of course in England and places like that, a brace is 2 dogs. Whether they're related or not, I don't think, whether they're different genders, doesn't matter. We hunt a brace of dogs just like we catch a brace of trout, or we shoot a brace of red grouse in the moors of Scotland. John Simon's advice is, yeah, and after all those cautionary tales, good advice, John. Just relax. Keeping track of both dogs can be a little trying. Yeah, I've been there and done that. Be prepared for a bit of a cluster. Beep, beep. Yeah, also true. Don't get angry when one goes after a downed bird and the other dog goes the opposite way on the scent of another bird. All good. You know, Ronnie Smith, Susanna Love Smith have said in the past that a puppy can do no wrong. I might go just a little bit further and say when there's some kind of a real, an uncommon challenge in the field, I don't care what the age of the dog is, it's too late. You're not going to accomplish a lot of good if you get too worked up about it in the field. So, you know, train hard, hunt easy. Grant Goblish, along the same lines, don't overthink it. Let your dog's natural instincts and abilities take over. Grant, absolutely. Grant says, I've had 4 on the ground for decades. Oh, my head spins just thinking about that. I hope you have one of those really expensive tracking collars. They form their own pecking order, and I've never encountered any problems. Yeah, absolutely. Well, good on you. Send us a picture of that. I'd love to see 4 dogs, 1 pointing and 3 backing. That would be cool. And thanks again. Yeah, we're out there to have fun. Let's keep that in mind. And so are the dogs. I mean, remember, that's what they live for. You know, nobody in this whole discussion has talked about hunting a pointer with a Flushing breed. And I've done that 25 or 35 times, I bet, especially on TV. And many of the big lodges and guiding operations have glommed onto that idea as well. There's a lot to be said for it from a safety standpoint as well as the showbiz standpoint. There's some real novelty in having a dog hit a point and then sending in a flusher to put the bird in the air while the pointer hangs tight. And it's even more fun when that flushing dog is a little black Cocker Spaniel, but it doesn't matter what it is, and we've seen all of that in the past. I remember when Cockers first caught on here in the States, and now it's everywhere. It started in the East, and now it's all the way over to the West. Anyway, that's its own set of challenges, because you got a pointing dog that is expected to hold for whatever length you want it to hold, whether it's through the wing shot and fall or through the wing and through the shot, whatever it is. And then you have another dog that's going to race right past him and put the bird in the air. Well, if you're a pointer, you're thinking, this guy's breaking all the rules and he's getting away with it. So you got to train. You got to train hard for that. And I've had that discussion with a lot of pros, and it is just a long, arduous process, but it's so fun when it happens. More than once on TV, we've gotten to the point, especially with Cocker Spaniels, and I don't think I've ever seen it with a Labrador. That would be something else. But these little Cockers, they just love it so much. Lynn Berlin, one of my camera guys, he knows what to do. That dog puts a bird in the air, somebody brings it back, Lynn gets set up about 25 or 30 feet in front of the handler. That Cocker comes back and launches itself into the handler's arms. If they could talk, and they are with their eyes, they're saying, thank you for letting me go hunting. I'm having such a great time. All I can do is jump up here and give you a lick on your face. Isn't that cool? That's what it's all about. And if you're doing it with your short hair or your Labrador, more power to you. I hope you spend enough time at the gym to handle that. Oh, boy. Rodney Ott, you got another question. And it's a good one. It's more advice than anything else. And I've been there with you. Yeah, great dogs, beautiful. Rodney says, I use the Garmin 550 control with the switch on top and bottom settings. All right, if you have one of those, you know what he means. But on any tracking collar, tracking and training collar, because what Rodney says all capital letters next is critical. You must know which dog to correct at all times. Yikes. Yeah. My tone button is my most used button, Rodney says, and it's absolutely true. Be careful of that red one and use something else instead, just in case. And in fact, Raymond Boren Jr. amplifies that and says maybe 2 different tracking collar setups, not one. Well, tracking or e-collar setups, not one, so that you have a control for each dog. Of course, that might mean you have to train yourself a little bit more, and it's a little heavier and it's a little bit more inconvenient, but that is one fail-safe way to do it. Good idea. Christopher Cookston says, have fun. The dogs will make mistakes, especially at first. With some correction, they should come around. Again, this is all stuff we should teach in the yard before we take them into the field and inspect them to do what they've never done before. Ralph Klemock just amplifies the feeling I think we all have, even just talking about this subject, let alone looking at all the pictures we've seen recently. Watching them both work is the highlight of every hunt. Absolutely true. Jim Mensink, ×2, says, I've hunted 2 Brittany's for 4 years. It took a while, but I've never enjoyed hunting more. Bird count is meaningless. Yeah. It's not about the birds, it's about the dog and your relationship with them in the field. Kind of hard to argue that. Okay, let's see here. Other comments or suggestions. Frank Flesh says, let them hunt. Limit your commands. They'll figure it out if they are good ones. Hey, I'm going to get this tattooed on my left forearm, Frank. They know more than you think. And Walt Bungard, on my right forearm, I'm going to add your suggestion. Be worthy. Yeah, as they say, someday I'll become the person my dog thinks I am. Isn't that the truth? David DeSmither has a more practical bit of advice in that regard. Follow the one you trust the most. And then it'll probably be the wrong one, but that's all right. Lance Larson talks about running a young dog and a veteran. Yeah, even with the screw-ups and mistakes, the young dog commits, they'll pick something up. Absolutely. I also think, and I get this call about once a month from somebody, it's a little bit frantic, but it's always, my young dog is just following my old dog. And well, yeah, at some point you have to break the bond and hunt them separately. It's the only way a young dog is going to learn to be bold, inquisitive, and figure out some of the things on their own. And I'm thinking about you folks down there in Denio when I talk like that. You know who I mean. All right. Well, those are some great observations, some excellent suggestions, and just thinking about that kind of stuff gets me excited, and I can't wait because the next hunt I go on, we'll be doing some of that. A lot more to come here. What's on your mind? We'll be talking about your dog's most notorious travel-related offense coming up in just a moment. First, a word from HiVizSites.com. See what you've been missing. Go take a look at my video on the topic. It's at HiVizSites.com. These patented interlocking, easy to install light pipe systems have changed my shooting life. So far this season, I know it'll change real fast. So far this season, I'm shooting 100%. I know that's not going to last, but the point is, my inner mind is seeing targets differently because it's also seeing the muzzle, so there's a relationship. I know I can hardly explain it in a podcast, but on the video you can see it a little bit better. These colored light pipes allow you to never lose the bead while you're tracking the target. Works for me. See if it works for you. Learn more at HiVizSights.com. HiViz sights.com. And if you're like me, you slapped your forehead on that first hunt of the season and said, dang, I didn't order any blank ammo. Seeing lots of goose and duck shots, so if you don't have your non-toxic or any kind of upland ammo, now you can get it at MidwayUSA.com. Sign up for the emails or text notifications. You'll get 10% off your next order. So lay in a big pile of ammo and save yourself a significant amount of cash at MidwayUSA.com. Customer satisfaction is their number one goal. And if you order before 3 p.m., it'll ship out today. So going through my pictures, I found one of a very young flick. Somewhere, I don't even know what town, what state this was in, but he's in the bathroom door in a hotel. And he's basically wearing a belt around his middle of toilet paper. And in the background, it looks like a toilet paper roll exploded. So I thought, okay, this will be fun. What's your dog's most notorious motel during hunting season offense? And that will kick off our What's on Your Mind segment. It was fun to see some of the answers, and I'll pick out some of them right now. Because you can probably relate. I don't care whether it's in your travel trailer or a wall tent or the back of the pickup or anywhere else. Lynn Glock was watching TV in his hotel, and his dog Freya came out of the bathroom with one end of the toilet paper. She basically TP'd the entire room by the time she was caught. We got cats that'll do that as well, but I never hunt with them. John Simon says, I have one dog that violates the noise ordinance. If people coming in from a late night hangout in the hallway near our door. So now I look for the cleaner old school motels where the front door opens onto the parking lot. Yeah, I've been there and done that. My dog is a little bit territorial. Boy, and if there were two dogs in the room, they'd both be territorial. And yes, you may not be invited back on the next visit. Jim Wilson is a little bit more practical. You never have to worry when they're in the crate. Absolutely. And by the way, I love these fold-up crates for hotels. They're easy to carry. They're flat, basically flat and a few inches deep when you don't need them. But haul that. They're so much easier to negotiate into a hotel room, going up the stairs or through the elevator or whatever. Open them up, unfold them in the room, put your dog in there, and most of the time, most dogs get used to them pretty easily, and they don't try to figure out how fragile the fabric is. That's a story for another day, Dave. Jake and Oatner says he's more of a VRBO person, but Bo will sleep everywhere except where he's supposed to sleep. I got one of those, Jay. I know exactly what you mean. That's why everything is covered all the time. Yeah, in fact, that's a good idea. Pack yourself an extra sheet or maybe something a little bit less permeable than a sheet. Throw it down first thing on all the furniture in your hotel room. And maybe that would stop Dan Staber's short hair. Great picture, by the way, Dan. This is a bed spread, I guess. And the foreground is your short hair's big butt. It's a perspective issue. It doesn't really have a big butt. With a big spot on it. And the front end is a little lower as your dog is bug hunting at Motel 6. I hope he didn't find any cockroaches, by the way. Great picture. Oh, the next picture, I can't even describe. Frozen feather. That is disgusting. Yes, we know it happens. And I think, thank you for sharing that lesson. Grant Goblish. Yeah, haven't had this one, but I've had a similar one. In fact, they're complementary. Your dog ate a stick of butter. My dog ate a loaf of bread. And Dan Staber has a picture of his dog. Let's see. It's a very darkly, colored a lot like my old guy Manny was when he was very young. Laying on a hotel room bed with all the... And, why do they make all of the covers white now? Because like you say, Dan, I don't know if Marriott ever got all the hair off the sheets. Yep, I know the feeling. And I feel bad about it. I've only been charged once for a mess a dog left, and that was mud, and it was legit. And I gave him the heads up immediately. But anyway, thanks for all of your great contributions there the whole time. You're doing a great job, everybody. Let's have some fun this season. That segment of the show, What's on Your Mind, was brought to you by PointerShotguns.com. Yeah, it's never too late. Maybe about now you're thinking, God, that thing is so heavy. It's time for a new shotgun. Well, if you're looking to upgrade, maybe to a smaller gauge or to a different configuration, something a little lighter, something a little bit cooler in some kind of a color or with a case hardening to it or Cerakote colors, check out PointerShotguns.com. Remember, they're the best over and under for less than $500 according to Target Focused Life. Learn more at PointerShotguns.com, and they'll send you to a dealer that has something for you. PointerShotguns.com. Well, it sure is great to talk with y'all through the social media and then be able to share all of that with everybody else who we're talking with. I appreciate all your questions, all your suggestions, and all your advice. So, if you appreciate it as well, please tell one person about the Upland Nation podcast. That's how we grow around here. 18% growth in the last 2 months in terms of downloads. Thank you. If you leave a rating, that's even more important. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all our sponsors who make this all possible. Sage and Breaker, Purina Pro Plan Sport, Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrulockChokes, MidwayUSA.com, LandTrust.com, Pointer Shotguns, and HiViz Shooting Systems. For most of the stuff we talk about, there's probably more details at FindBirdHuntingSpots.com. And maybe a suggestion for your next out-of-state trip. Check it all out. I'll see you there. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for listening to the Upland Nation podcast.